Welcome back to the 2014 R&D Invitationals. I'm Dan, joined by Fourth Oracle. We're getting into the North American Finals for today's events. SPQR versus the Merry Men, an old group versus a new group. SPQR relatively new, at least. Merry Men, old guard of Guns of Icarus Online. First map is Canyon Ambush Oracle. This is a clash between generations, as one might say. What do you see these very different teams doing to try and combat each other?
I don't see their team really changing up much at all.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Men are going to stick to their guns. SPQR is going to stay with their aggression. I don't see why SPQR should change. I don't see why they should change for anyone. The Merry Men are less of a known entity, though certainly they did get a smattering of what they were doing in the last match. I'd say that SPQR just needs to keep doing what it's doing. Merry Men are the ones that really have to be careful and try to split up SPQR.
We don't see any major changes just yet.
I refuse. I refuse to look at chips in the lobby. Nope, not touching it. I've been trolled way too often.
As much as someone in chat is wishing for competitive Spires, this isn't a Glowwater Thralls match. It's not happening just yet.
Now, if you want to see competitive Spires, watch a Thralls match. You'll see it.
We didn't have any last week during that Thralls game, Thralls versus Cake match, but we could have.
They use it occasionally. It's just like, I don't know what the conditions need to be to use the Spire. I still can't figure it out.
There needs to be some kind of planetary alignment that happens.
I don't know. It's more common than that. I'd say that, I don't know. Background radiation has to be just right. It needs to be a little bit more mystical, but more common.
Folks, I would strongly implore you to go back and watch last week's matches over at youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show, especially Cake versus the Glowwater Thralls. Easily one of the best of threes of 2014. Oh, good Lord. I was talking with Imagine after we got done casting it between matches as we were on break, and we were both just like, we had to stop and catch our breath. We were both drained from how ridiculously exciting that matchup was. Glowwater Thralls, that was in fact the last competitive match for Scrimscraw. And he absolutely, if you're going to, close your career at least competitively out, that was the way you do it. that was it. Give us one of the best matchups of this entire year. And against Cake, no less. Cake just barely scraping out over Glowwater Thralls. If just a scant few things had been different, we would have had a different winner in that best of three.
Cake has really stepped up. I'm really sad to see the Thralls go.
Here's the thing. The Thralls aren't necessarily done. Scrimscraw is just done playing any competitive events.
Okay. I heard rumors that the Thralls are just going to step out of competitive play after.
That might be the case. I'm not too sure. I'm not too interested in putting a label on it, because if they do decide to step back in and be competitive with a different setup or different team, I'm not even willing to say, oh well, let's see if the Thralls still have it. That's not really fair to them. They're one of the best teams we've ever seen for Guns of Icarus Online.
They've held the top spot numerous times.
Mm-hmm. Getting set up here. The 2-minute timer has just started. One of the teams did ask for a few minutes, and because we don't have an event afterwards, Lucas was kind enough to give it to them, which is fine. That is just fine. Whoa.
All right.
Whoa,
Here we
that was
go.
fast.
They're ready. Yeah, they just needed an extra couple seconds, and we're getting underway. Canyon Ambush going to be the map. Large area to the north and the south. Ample sniping places. Lots of cover in the middle, though. Off to the south, you also have a much lower flight ceiling, but if you get dropped in the center of the map, you're in a lot of trouble. Lots of funny angles that your ship can get caught in, and it's very easy to get Goomba stomped in that area because it's very open near the top, very messy at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. All righty. First off, for SPQR, the Panda Among Bears, flown by Lazy Panda. Double Caro front Pyramidion, very dangerous on this map. Very risky to fly against with a Banshee and Flare on the side. We also have the RAS Mars, piloted by Jub Jub. Left-hand side, Lumberjack, Hwacha, and a Hades, along with Flare on the back and Double Carronade on the right.
And for the Merry Men, we have the Then It Was Rebuilt, a galleon being piloted by Rear Admiral Zill. Port side, Lumberjack, Hwacha, Artemis. Starboard side, Hwacha Carronade, pretty standard with a mortar on the back. We also have the Not My Fault, a goldfish being piloted by Shinkarex. Carronade on the front, Banshees on either side.
The Blenderfish is going to be the ship to watch, in my opinion. I
agree. A lot of it is going to depend on how well the Blenderfish can do. That is, the Not My Fault. I feel like the Blenderfish is very, very strong right now. And if it gets a good spot on the enemy galleon, then it was rebuilt. They're going to be in a good way.
The Merriman did have a DC. We don't allow player pauses in the R&D Invitational, but the SPQR folks did offer to pause, which is perfectly acceptable. You still run down the timer while that's happening, but if both teams agree to it, we allow it to happen.
We're good. They're still going. They said, never mind. The loading screen.
Panda Among Bears is being exceptionally sneaky in this regard, setting up for a possible ambush scenario and making sure they do not get spotted under any circumstances.
Not My Fault. Spotted. That's really important. The fact that this Blenderfish did not go for a more sneaky route means that it's not going to be able to get the jump on either the Pyrrha or the Mars. I think getting the jump on the Mars is going to be more important.
And then it was rebuilt is getting hammered, or would have been getting hammered, by a Hwacha. Most of that actually misses. The Norwegian Wolf laying into, I know what I'm saying. The Norwegian Wolf laying into the RAS Mars.
Pandas Among Bears coming in from the side. The fact that the Splenderfish has been spotted is very good for the Pyrrha, and it's going to come in on the Not My Fault. They take out the balloon, and they immediately start gunning for the heavy engine, and it's down. The buff is gone. Balloon is gone. This Goldie can't get out. The Then It Was Rebuilt has got to come and help it now. And that's going to give time for the Mars to come in.
Panda Among Bears has an excellent jump on the Not My Fault. Then It Was Rebuilt, getting hammered as well. Those carronades laying into the balloon, not getting a ton of damage on it, though, before it has to rise above those arcs.
Sapphire Sage and Sprayer doing an amazing job on those barking dogs, disabling every important component on the Goldie. However, the Hwacha is going to go in. The Mars finally working its way through, and it's got great shots on the Not My Fault. This Goldie may fall right here and now.
The disable capabilities of the Double Caro Pyramidion is immense. You cannot discount it. You must get those guns controlled. As the goldfish does indeed go down, it had nothing it could do. The RAS Mars had it pinned.
That was an amazing engagement from the Panda Among Bears. And then it was rebuilt now in a very nasty spot. It managed to get down to the lower area. And the Mars is not going to be able to help. So that's going to buy it some time.
Panda Amongst Bears using those side Banshees, or that side Banshee rather, to try and get a little extra damage on. Then it was rebuilt. Hwacha shots going out on the Pyramidion, not doing a ton beyond a couple weapon disables. Then it was rebuilt, getting its armor back up, getting the balloon back up. They're trying to get some altitude, but the Double Caro isn't letting that happen. There's simply too much balloon damage going on from that Pyramidion. Poor watcha shots from Then It Was Rebuilt, not getting any disables beyond a single weapon on the Panda Among Bears.
This galleon's gonna fall. Ooh, flare. Throwing it into the what? Not much. They were able to keep chem sprays going. There we go. Drogue shoot gonna buy the Then It Was Rebuilt a little bit of time. There we go. Balloon goes down again, and they take the drogue shoot off. A little bit of poor timing there. Armor goes down, and they're gonna keep grinding. In the meantime, Not My Fault coming in. RAS Mars hanging out in the clouds, waiting for that blenderfish to come in, and like a great white, it will descend upon its prey.
The Panda Among Bears is just having a field day with that galleon. Not My Fault.
Just playing. Look at that Banshee damage. Holy cow.
It's hard to imagine without seeing it the amount of damage the Banshee is actually capable of. That heavy carronade laying into the Panda Amongst Bears just a little bit, but it's not doing a ton. It's simply not doing a ton.
Ooh, disable on the Hellhound. Not My Fault. Not even going to be able to fight back as the balloon gets dropped. Then It Was Rebuilt, getting a chance to come back up, but its hull is looking very weak, and the Mars has got it covered.
The SPQR folks aren't taking any major risks with this. They're keeping the pressure on. They're not going for the kills. They're just looking to keep the Merrymen locked down and out of arcs.
That's smart. Just keep your advantage. Don't risk it. And I think that's smart. If they knew how low the hull on Then It Was Rebuilt was, though, they'd be fine. They just go for the kill. But they're going to play it safe. Pandas Amongst Bears, loses 2 engines.
Now that the Merrymen have gotten their feet back under them, though, I feel like any extreme aggression would be punished. The SPQR folks are not known for extreme aggression. It's more of a measured, consistent pressure.
Not My Fault bounces, loses its armor, gets this balloon up, though, and it's going to survive. Pandas Among Bears, after taking so much fire, still at full hull.
RAS Mars swinging around on top of Then It Was Rebuilt. It looks like they are going for a kill in this situation. The Panda Amongst Bears far off, but it looks like the RAS Mars won't need the support in this situation. Not My Fault turning to engage Panda Amongst Bears. Then It Was Rebuilt, getting double teamed once again.
Ouch.
They ground out.
You take 1 carronade for the disable, you take 2 carronades to get kills. That's absolutely how you do it on the Galleon, and the Mars was just there to clean up its Galleon brethren. Not My Fault now in terrible trouble. SPQR playing this one by the book. It's great.
Kudos, rather, to the crew of the Galleon, including Rear Admiral Zill, for just staying alive as long as it did. They had a lot of fire they had to deal with. All those carronades loading into their Galleon repeatedly.
Oh, no. Not My Fault. Might finally eat it. There we go.
Good Hades shot.
Was flying into the ground. 3-0 in favor of SPQR, and not a lick of hull damage on either of these red ships.
They've managed these fights incredibly well so far. Again, they're not taking any major risks. They're simply keeping an extremely measured, solid pressure on this Merrymen team.
Yeah, that's all they did. All they need to do is keep their enemies locked down. You can leave the Galleon for a little while if you disable it.
In a game where we tend to emphasize and sometimes overemphasize the varying and different strategies / loadouts that different teams can take, the measured consistency of not stepping outside the box and filling that box in to an extreme degree that the SPQR folks do, I think it's not necessarily groundbreaking. It's simply playing things so well by the books that people can't outthink them.
Yeah, this is good play. Like, that is how SPQR wins all their matches. However, the Mars overstepping its bounds a little bit. They lose their balloon. Their armor's burning and down to half. But the Pandas Among Bears is coming in. The Not My Fault is the real target, I think. And they are going to go right for it. They only have a vague idea of where components are, so they're just spraying the Not My Fault. They do manage to take out the balloon and the heavy carronade. And that is all that they need.
Great bumps from the Panda Among Bears. They're pushing Not My Fault all over the place, nudging it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, look how they nudge it into arcs against the ground for the RAS Mars to help finish off.
This is gorgeous.
That's immense levels of teamwork right there that you don't often see.
Frame it, put it on your wall, show it to your friends. That was perfect.
4-0 in favor of SPQR for this first game in this best of 3.
Then it was rebuilt, taking a little bit of fire. I think it should be able to get out of here. It's not even running.
They're sitting in position. They feel like they can outshoot the RAS Mars in this situation.
They think so, but the Pandas Among Bears is turning around, threatening to come in, and then it was rebuilt. Bottoms out. They stuck around just too long. They thought they could stick around, get a couple more shots in, but they're not being permitted to at all.
Not my fault. Spawns back in. How are they not spotted?
They probably are spotted.
There it goes.
There we go. They just hadn't pulled out their scopes. Sometimes the captain just has to say, someone get a spot on that ship, because everyone just it's sort of the bystander effect, the by spotter effect. Someone else will spot it.
Panda Among Bears getting hammered by a Watcha from the Then It Was Rebuilt. Not doing a ton though, although Panda Among Bears is starting to take some damage. Balloon is down. Armor is getting chipped away. Hull could be exposed if this continues. Balloon goes down again.
Oh.
Great pressure from Then It Was Rebuilt. Armor is gone. Not my fault. Pushing the Panda Amongst Bears backwards, further and further away from the RAS Mars.
Panda Among Bears getting shots on the heavy carronade, and they get it. That was the disable they needed. The Panda Among Bears has the chance to come back now. They just need to get their balloon back up. Not my fault. Realizes the Mars is coming in with a double carronade and jumps away, but the Mars is still getting shots in.
Then It Was Rebuilt playing things very, very conservatively, starting to get lumberjack shots loaded into RAS Mars, but they're going well over arc. They're shooting well over that galleon. Then It Was Rebuilt, however, actually pulled back behind this canyon wall during the latter part of that engagement and actually stopped assisting their ally because they wanted to play it safe.
I think that was the wrong move. They had the advantage for that short time, and they let it go.
They had a great disable on the Panda Among Bears. A great disable. The RAS Mars was just a little disoriented. You don't see that often with SPQR. They should have taken advantage of that.
Yep, now Then It Was Rebuilt. Gonna pay for that mistake as it continues to take shots from the Mars. Mars shots are very good. Actually, before they split their water shots between the Goldfish and the Galleon, and it was great. It's that kind of play. Those little things are what set SPQR apart, I think. The Pandas Among Bears coming in a bit low, and it's going to lose its balloon quickly. They had to expect that.
They're more concerned about getting a kill shot lined up for Then It Was Rebuilt using those carronades. I think SPQR might be going in for a kill on the Then It Was Rebuilt because they've had it ground out already. Panda Among Bears is taking some fire, but I think it's reasonable to assume that they just want to get that kill, and Then It Was Rebuilt. Great watch of shots, nearly finishing it off. Lumberjack shots loading into the balloon still. Armor is gone. They go down. That was a 5-0 win for SPQR. They took their time, but they made sure not to make mistakes. That's the big difference right there, folks.
That was a perfect game, I think. SPQR, they made maybe one mistake, but beyond that, they played phenomenally. I don't think they could have done much better.
That was a very tough game. Very tough game to deal with.
For Merrymen, yeah. How do you fight such perfection? We've talked about this before. This isn't the first time this topic has come up. You can either be a team that innovates and does new things and surprises the enemy, or you can just play perfect. And SPQR is an example of a team that just plays perfect. That's how the Mandarins a little while ago became, like, we're so good. They just played perfectly. That's how way back when, that's how the Wolf Pack was so good. They just played flawless games with overpowered weapons. And that's what SPQR are doing. They're not using anything overpowered. They're just playing. I think that actually Guns of Icarus is remarkably balanced now.
It is incredibly well balanced right now.
The Spire is weak. but the squid is showing potential. Ships are coming in and out of the meta. I think that shows, just preference more than anything. The squid might become viable as teams become more familiar with it, like you said, in the aerodrome. And SPQR is just taking what they know. They have a couple different builds. They know how to play them, and they play them perfectly.
We're gonna be getting into the second game here. Battle on the Dunes is the map. Speaking of, how do you counter SPQR's play style? The measured, reasonable, meticulous focus that they tend to have. Referring to them as the immovable object because you can't bully them around. It's simply not possible. There is one team that has been that has shown they can match SPQR's measured, reasonable, steady approach with harsh, destructive aggression, and that's the Riders.
The Riders. That's the thing about perfect play. The ideal of perfect play is that nothing counters it. That's the point. That's why you go for that. I'd say that being tricky is nice, but ultimately perfect play should come out on top every time, and that's what SPQR counts on. The Riders just play cleaner. That's the only thing that the Riders have over SPQR, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Riders have traditionally shown not only do they take the absolute maximum amount of damage you can take, specifically with some of their Spire and Mobula builds, but they're always incredibly aggressive and focused. They are the Gaul berserkers to the SPQR's Centurion armies.
Yeah, I'd say SPQR's ideal is somewhere in between offensive and defensive play. They're balanced. Like SPQR is like it's like Mario in Super Smash Brothers. It's like Ryu in Street Fighter. It's just a very balanced character that doesn't have too many strengths, but doesn't have very many weaknesses either. It's like vanilla Goyo. But the Riders, they play again. They have that perfect play, but they take a more aggressive posture.
Yes,
that's the only real difference between them.
People are questioning my stating Rider Spire builds. I have seen them. They are brutal.
What is Mobula?
That's not what Dimentio sounds like.
I don't know.
Which side of the Spire build were you on, Dan?
What?
Which side of those Spire builds were you on when you saw them?
Were you giving or receiving?
We're not going to put it in those terms because that's not appropriate.
That is not the way I meant for it to be interpreted.
I wasn't asking who the pitcher or the catcher were.
Oh my god.
Oh goodness. You just assume these things about me.
Anywho, we'll be getting into this one here very shortly. Teams have already burned through their ready time.
Yep, here we go.
Battle on the Dunes. We haven't had Battle on the Dunes yet for today's events.
We have.
We have?
Yeah.
Oh, right. The last Merry Men game. Right. Very open. We do have some cloud cover, but there's not a lot of physical cover.
Oh, not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Leviathan. We have the very large set pieces. We have the ribs, the battleship, and the Leviathan, and then that really big engine off to the south. That's it.
We have the Pluto Among Planets, piloted by Lazy Panda. It's a blender fish still with Flamer and Flare. We also have the RAS Pluto, piloted by Jub Mobula. Hades on top. Main deck is the usual Artemis, double Artemis combo, and Kara Flamer on the bottom deck.
And for the Merry Men, we have And I Got Shot, being piloted by Rear Admiral Zill. Gatling Banshee, again on the front, with double mine launcher on the port side that have yet to see use. We also have the Not My Fault, being piloted by Shinkarex. Carronade on the front, Banshees on either side.
For the fact that this is Battle on the Dunes, we have a blenderfish on each side of this engagement.
Like I said, if you're going to play on Battle on the Dunes, you have to either take all sniper, all brawl. The Pluto is a little bit of a compromise with the Hades, but it's medium range. It's good you want it in that medium range. If you have the Pluto among planets leading, you should be fine.
Mm-hmm. And I got shot, not my fault, using a bit of cloud cover as they swing around the wreck. They have an opportunity to sit in this cloud cover and get a very good approach.
This is the earliest. This is the earliest engagement I've seen on this map in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Pluto amongst planets, and I got shot very close to one another. Not my fault. Going to get some carronade on. Oh no, they're actually passing. They're both ships are passing the Pluto amongst planets and going straight for the RAS Pluto.
Yeah, it's backing up hard. Hades doing a little bit, but they're almost able to drop the armor of the anti-god shot, but there's 1 pixel left, and the RAS Pluto just eating a lot of damage, but they weren't able to get the kill. They only took it down to 2/3 hull, and the Pluto among planets able to come in behind the anti-god shot, drops the armor. They're getting chipped. Balloons down as well. Not my fault. Lost its balloon as well. First mine comes out, goes wide. Pluto among planets right now doing a great job as the RAS Pluto turns and gets ready to lay into the anti-got shot.
Very good, Crazy Ivan underdog there from the Pluto. Pluto amongst planets losing a little more armor, and I got shot, getting very accurate firepower on that Mobula. Pluto amongst planets coming in behind the anti-got shot. Armor is down. They are taking hull damage very quickly. Pluto amongst planets lining up the shots. We should see carronade fire going right into that armor. There it is. RAS Pluto's armor's down as well, though, but anti-god shot cannot maintain this position and survive. They have gone underneath the Mobula.
No, they were tanking for a little while. The armor came up way too quick for it not to be just an armor tank. The Pluto hitting the not my fault. When you go to full repair like that, you take yourself out of the fight for a good portion of the time. And so the Pluto is going to move in on the not my fault. However, the repairs are quick. And the anti-got shot is quickly laying into the Pluto among planets. Armor drops on the not my fault on both goldfish. But there's no... That's Banshee. There was no Banshee. Armor drops again. Balloon gets dropped on the... Almost gets dropped on the anti-got shot, but it's not down.
Not my fault is caught. Not my fault is caught on the ground. They are grounding out. If they don't do something right now, they will burn down and die to gravity.
In the meantime, RAS Pluto went down, and the Not My Fault went down, and now it's just the Metamidian versus the Blenderfish. Anti-got shot. Or it's not quite a Metamidian, it's a Gap Banshee. The anti-got shot, backing up, should be able to keep distance with the Pluto among planets long enough to get out of here. But all in all, 1 for 1. And SPQR come out on top.
That was a ridiculously close engagement, though. The fact that they went 1-1 on each side of things, it's now a 4-point game either way. No one has any real advantage beyond the fact that got shot is still taking those carronade blasts from the Pluto amongst planets. And now, actually, Mobula does come back into play, trying to get support fire on the anti-got shot.
Armor gets dropped on the Pluto, though, and this is not where they want to be. They went for the kill on the anti-got shot. They weren't able to hit the balloon. The hull was in the way, and they were too low, and now the Not My Fault is coming in. I think that SPQR may have made their first major mistake of the afternoon.
Normally, we don't see this kind of aggression from SPQR. I think they got a little overconfident, a little overeager, and
maybe not. There it goes. There it goes. I expected the Not My Fault to get more shots on the Pluto among planets, but they just didn't. Now the Pluto among planets is going to continue chasing Not My Fault, taking big shots from the Pluto, and they ground out. They're stuck.
I take this back. This has been very impressive play from SPQR. They're really trying to incorporate a little more active aggression into their play style.
Yeah, maybe they heard us praising the writers. Pluto among planets has got to get out of here, though.
If SPQR wins this game, they're going to go up against the Riders in the finals of the R&D Invitationals for 2014. That'll be next Saturday, folks. Once we figure out who wins this matchup, by the way, we're going to talk to both SPQR, or rather writers, and the winners of this matchup and see which time slot they want to use. Either the European time slot, which is before Aerodrome, or the US time slot, which is after Aerodrome.
Yep, hopefully they'll be able to come to a consensus. And it looks like, oh my, Merry Men do not want to take advantage of the Pluto among planets being so far forward and damaged. They just want to try to reset the engagement. They don't want to.
I'm shocked they're not using this cloud. That's just slow. Actually, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
they should use this cloud, but I'm surprised they're not.
Yeah, they should use this cloud. This is weird.
They're just going straight forward.
Yeah, they just want to close distance. They want to try to close distance on Pluto as fast as possible, but I think this is a mistake. They're going for the Pluto among planets. It's eating a fair bit of damage, but the balloon is blocking a fair bit. Balloon drops, armor drops, and they're going to fall. But the Pluto has really nice arcs, and I got shot. Hades going into the armor, lighting fires. Pluto among planets can't hydro up. It's just going to try to rise up and get out of the way. I think it did hydro. Just to get that little bit.
They barely got out of there, but Pluto amongst planets holds on.
Holy cow.
Insane.
No way. And I got shot, now burning hard. 2 engines out. Armor's not looking great. 1 or 2 more Hades will do it. 1 and a 2, and the armor's down. Artemis now raining in, chipping away at that hull. Armor comes back up quickly. They have to tank it now if they want to survive. Not My Fault may have the chance to save its ally if they can take out the Pluto among planets, but the flamethrower is coming out, lighting fires all over the Not My Fault. This is looking really bad for the Merry Men.
Pluto amongst planets taking a big risk there to draw the Merry Men out towards them after they decided not to use any kind of cloud cover or quieter approach and just go straight for aggression. But the gamble paid off with RES Pluto's very solid support fire. It nearly didn't. Pluto amongst planets barely went down. Barely did not go down, rather. But now, Not My Fault is all alone. The end I got shot did go down there to support fire from the RES Pluto.
Not My Fault charging in. Yeah, I think that this game might be done. Pluto among planets rising up. RAS Pluto looking to use its close range disabling power to drop it down to the floor. Carronade gonna continue raining in from the Pluto among planets. Not My Fault just has to tank this. There's no way that can actually get its attack capability up. And this is it. SPQR gonna take game number 2.
Nearly done here. As Not My Fault is getting burned down. Carronade shots going into it as well. Pluto amongst planets finishes off with a gentle Goomba stop against the dunes.
Let's look at the replay on that. Look at it. Look at those double flamethrowers coming in. There's no way that this
wasn't a Goomba stomp. I thought that was a Goomba stomp.
No, it wasn't. That was just flamethrowers. They were just following it down gleefully, covering it with fire. That was brutal. That was a brutal end to that best of 3.
Whew. All right, folks. Next week we have the finals for this year's R&D Invitational. We're going to talk to both teams, see which time slot they want to use, either an hour before the aerodrome or hour after the aerodrome. So we'll see. Either way, it's going to be butted up right against the aerodrome, so you folks can just tune in to this channel the entire time and see both events. Keep things nice and simple for you folks. With that being said, I want to thank Rob for all the tech and the camera work for today's event. Oracle for the co-casting. You can find it at twitch.tv/4thOracle, as well as tomorrow for the SCS at twitch.tv/Guns of Icarus. I want to thank both Rob Shepard as well and Tatiana Finol for artwork. I want to thank DJ Bahamut for the music, as well as Psychonaut for music. We also had Phyraxis doing vocals for us in addition. That has been the North American bracket for this year's 2014 R&D Invitationals for Guns of Icarus Online. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. We're going to go ahead and host a channel after we get done here for your entertainment. You've been watching twitch.tv/4 Facebook.com/The Rob and Dan Show.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Once a year, the strongest, fastest, and wisest are brought together to destroy each other.